Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be converting between percents, decimals, and fractions. So we're going to talk about a couple of different ways and strategies for those things. So let's get right into it. Here it says, how do you write 24% as a decimal? So if I have 24%, where is my decimal in 24%? 24 is a whole number, so where is that decimal? It's right here at the end. So to change it to a decimal, we're going to move it 2 places to the left. So we move percents, decimals 2 places to the left. So we have 0.24 or 24 hundredths. 24 hundredths. Now it says, how do you write 64 hundredths as a decimal? So we have 64 hundredths, and we want to make it not into a decimal, but a percentage. So we will move it 2 places to the right. So that becomes 64%. You can do the circles, or you can do the dots. I've seen it both ways. Alright, so we have 64, and then it wants you to do the percent sign. Three-fourths as a percentage. Okay, so when we have a fraction, there's several things you can think about, and I don't want to confuse you by giving you too much. So you may want to write down some of these as notes. But if you think about fourths, so fourth is when there's a 4 on the bottom of the fraction. So there's 4 quarters and $1. So that would be 100. So how much is 3 quarters? 75. 75 hundredths, so that's the same as 75%, because anything out of 100 is the same as a percentage. So one of the strategies that I just showed you right there is to make the bottom number 100 to see it as a percentage. Oh, trying to get my percent sign in, and it's not cooperating with me. There we go. Okay, we want 70% as a fraction. We have talked about reducing in class with you guys doing your fractions in the morning. You don't have to reduce it this time on here, but you can. So it's 70 over 100. Quickly to reduce that, remember, if they have zeros in common, you can mark them out. So it would be 7/10. Both answers will work for today. Okay, now we have 6/10, and we want to write that as a percentage. So you have to go over 2 to the right. 1, 2. What do you think we're going to put in this empty spot? 0. So you have 60%. Okay. %40 as a fraction. Well, remember, 40 over 100. You can cancel the zeros out. 4/10. And that could reduce even further to 2/5. 12% as a decimal. So we have 12%. I'm going to do the circles since I'm going to be using a decimal point. Decimal's at the end, so I need to move it 2 to the left. So I have decimal 2. 71 hundredths as a percentage. Well, 71 over 100 is 71% because it's already over 100. This one's a little bit different. You have 137% as a decimal. So we have 137. Where's the decimal already? It's at the end. So my rule has been move it 2 to the left. So I just move it 2 to the left. I have 1 decimal 37, 1 37 hundredths. Oh, I dropped my pen that I was using. Okay, here we have 2 and 15 hundredths, and we want to change that to a percent. So we're going to move the decimal 2 to the right. That makes it 215%. That's a lot. Anytime you have a number that is more than one whole, that means that it's over 100%. Or if it's one whole or more, it's 100% or more. So here we have 215%. Okay. How do you write 5 seconds or 5 halves as a percentage? Okay. So what you're going to do here, you have 2 choices. You can have 5 over 2 equals, and you can make the bottom a 10 or a 100. So 2 times 5 equals 10. So if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. And that's 25. And then I have to add a 0. So that's 250% is one way. So I'm going to go ahead and write that number down so that we remember it was 250%. And then I'm going to show you another way that you could have done it. So you could have, you take the numerator and you divide it by the denominator. So 2 goes into 5, 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. I subtract. I put a decimal and bring down the 0. 2 goes into 10 5 times. And then I subtract. Now, what I have is 2 decimal point 5, but that's not a percentage, that's a decimal. So now I need to move it 2 places to the right. Where that blank is, I put a 0, so that's 250%, just like we got before. So that's another strategy. So a recap of that, we had 5 over 2, so we did 5 divided by 2. We did it until we got a remainder of 0, and we moved the decimal over 2 places. Okay, here we have 203% as a decimal, so you're just going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So we have 2 and 3 hundredths. How do you write 7/8 as a percentage? So here, it's going to be a little more difficult to make 7/8 have a 100 or a 10 on the bottom. So you would want to do 7 divided by 8. 8 can't go into 7, so you add that 0. 8 goes into 70. How many times? Well, I know that 8 times 8 is 64, so I subtract 64 to 70. You should know is 6. I bring down the 0. How many times does 8 go into 60? 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Subtract and you get 4. Now we can obviously borrow, but we should know that that's 4 away. Now I can put a 0 and continue. Oh, I put the 0 in the wrong spot, of course. Put a 0 and bring it on down. Now we need to move the decimal. It's getting hard to write down there. Okay, so we have to move the decimal 2 times to the right. So we have 87 and 5/10%. So it doesn't tell us to round, so we're going to write that. 87 and 5/10%. Okay, 50% as a fraction. Do you guys know that's 1/2 because that's half is 50% is 1/2 of 100. So 1/2. This is a big one. Okay, we have 1 and then 238. What place is that? That's tens, hundredths, thousandths. 1 and 238 thousandths. So we are going to move the decimal 2 times 1, 2. So we are going to have 123 and 8/10%. Okay, I'm going to stop there for right now, and we're going to talk about some things about percentages. Okay, so say you got a 7 out of 9 on your test, and you want to know what percentage that is. Well, you have a fraction. What are you going to do? You are going to do 7 divided by 9. You'll have to put your decimal. Now, how many times does 9 go into 70? 7 times 9 is 63. So we are going to do 7. When you subtract, you're going to get 7. Take the 0, bring it down. We have the same thing again. So it's going to go in 7 times. I'm going to go one more time so that I can round it to the nearest whole number. And I can stop there. So I have 7, all 7, 77% and 7/10.